Please be seated. Mechamocha, our prayer for freedom, can be found on page 158. 158. The opening words are lie, lie, lie. So I think we'll be able to sing that together. As we sing our song of freedom, as the Israelites cross the Red Sea, after they crossed the Red Sea, they rested. And when we rest, we think of those who are in need of shelter, those who are in need of healing. We think of ourselves after a long few weeks, and we pray for shelter too. So on the following page, 160, we'll sing for shelter.
Guide us in wisdom.
the following page, we'll sing Vishamru, our prayer for keeping Shabbat the way that we choose to find it meaningful. The Amidah is our chance to pray personally to God, however we find that for us. It's the set of prayers for us to relate to God in the ways that we find meaning in it. The beautiful part about this prayer is that when we sing this prayer to begin with, we sing together as one community, holding each other up. And then we continue by reciting the prayers silently, whether the prayers on the page or the prayers in our hearts, connecting to God in ways that we weren't able to as one community. So however we find this connection, we'll begin on page 164. We'll begin singing together the first three prayers, and then continue silently with either the prayers on the pages until 180, or the prayers within us. Please rise as we are able. Time had passed since Isaac and Rebekah had been married. They had grown rather weary of trying to conceive. The couple, not knowing what to do, decided to look to God. In their home, they went to separate corners of their own living room, hoping that their individual petitions would be heard, and they prayed. God, please give us a child. We're begging you. Sure enough, the couple conceived, but circumstances went awry. In Parashat Toldot, in this week's reading of our Torah, Rebekah approaches her husband. Isaac, I feel so loved and comforted by you. We're going to have a family. But the pain is too great. Is this normal? Im ken lama ze anochi. Why is it that I long to become pregnant in the first place? God intervened. The pain is so great, Rebekah, because you don't have one, but you have 2 children in your womb. One shall be mightier than the other, and the older shall serve the younger. According to our Torah, Rebekah was having an internal struggle, literally, not just carrying twins, but also carrying multiple emotions. Fear and anger, love and compassion. Rebekah was confused. When circumstances go awry, we tend to ask ourselves, how do we feel in light of recent events? And how are we supposed to feel in light of recent events? What if we feel confused? In our greater Jewish community of North America, circumstances have also gone awry. A neo-Nazi and white nationalist rally in Charlottesville last year, anti-Semitic graffiti markings on synagogues in California and New York, a mass shooting in Pittsburgh. How can our community heal after hate, after tragedy? And what if we don't know how to feel? A few years ago, I served on the leadership committee for a large Reformed synagogue's young professional cohort in Boston. There I worked with a colleague by the name of Rabbi Jen Gubitz, who shared with me a personal anecdote that quickly followed after the horrific events that occurred in Pittsburgh 2 weeks ago. Rabbi Jen arrived home following Saturday morning services at her synagogue, exhausted, only to come across a package outside her apartment door. She brought the package inside to her kitchen table, and she opened it. And she was stunned what she saw. Inside, she gaped at the beauty of a freshly baked banana cake, still warm from the oven. And then she turned to the note, which was even more surprising. I know that you spend a lot of time in your synagogue, and I don't know what you must be going through after what happened this morning, but I do know, however, how to bake. And I hope that this can provide you with even the slightest amount of comfort, even in these tragic times. Love, your friendly neighbor in apartment 5. In times of tragedy, often there is not merely one emotion that surfaces within us. There can be more than one, and that can cause confusion. Like Charles Dickens wrote, it was the best of times, and it was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom and the age of foolishness. It was the season of light and the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope, and it was the winter of despair. Times of tragedy can bring conflicting emotions out from deep within us, both the good and the not so good. On the one hand, there may be a deep, deep fear to light candles at your Shabbat dinner table, to walk into synagogue for services, to express yourself as a Jew. Anger, loss of security, sorrow, grief, confusion. On the other hand, I think to Rabbi Jen's story, the amount of love and compassion in this world is abounding. Maybe we have felt supported by our own community. Maybe we have opened up ourselves to building stronger interfaith relations in northern Colorado. Love and compassion and confusion. What does our tradition tell us when we are struggling inside with many emotions? Following Rebecca's plea, Im ken lama zeh anochi, why is this so painful? She did the following. V'telech lidrosh et Adonai. She went to lidrosh God. Lidrosh is a kind of funky word. Lidrosh et Adonai can be defined as seeking out God, inquiring of God, interpreting God, searching for God, asking of God. I want to suggest that to seek out God is to take a look toward the future. To inquire of God is to take a stand. To interpret God is to struggle with our own multiple emotions. To search for God is honestly not to know where to look. And to ask of God is to pray. These competing values and sentiments, hate and love, pain and comfort, sorrow and compassion, are not necessarily competing. We can learn to be okay with holding these emotions together. It's okay to be confused. In the words of Rabbi Zach Shapiro, because we're more than who we seem to be, we are Parkland. We are Newtown. We are Orlando, and we are Las Vegas. We are Charleston, and we are San Bernardino. We are Oklahoma City, and we are Columbine. We are Congregation Tree of Life in Pittsburgh. We are the Borderline nightclub in Thousand Oaks. We're all these places that have experienced violence and terror in humanity. And we are Temple Or Hadash. And we are Shalom. And we are peace. And we are a new light, Or Hadash. We are Jews. We are Christians. We are Muslims. We are Hindus, Sikhs, and Buddhists. We are Baha'i. We are atheists and agnostics. We pray to God, to Adonai, to Allah. We love our children. We are black and white and Latino and Asian. We are LGBTQ. We are Democrats and we are Republicans. We are immigrants and we are natives. We are survivors and we are redeemers. We are and we love and we dream and we hope to replace darkness with light. As Prophet Amos taught, let justice roll down like water and righteousness flow like a mighty stream. And as our liturgy reminds us, as in loving embrace, as we prayed this evening, for comfort, Baruch Atah Adonai, HaPores Sukat Shalom Aleinu. Blessed are you, Adonai, ruler of the universe, who spreads a sukkah, a shelter of peace, over us, over all of Israel, over all of humanity, and and over all those who dwell on earth. Hate breeds hate. And love breeds love. Now more than ever is the time to shine brighter with acts of loving kindness, compassion, and joy. Shabbat Shalom. We'll continue our service on page 109. We'll flip back. This is the time in our service when we think of those who are in need of shelter, who are in need of healing, who are in need of a Sukkot Shalom, a shelter of peace. Those who are ill, those who are in need of healing of the mind, of body, or of spirit. If you are thinking of someone today who is in need of healing, please feel free to share those names out loud or in your hearts as my eyes meet yours.
Linda Feldman and Andrew Feldman. Suzanne Troutline.
Graham McCauley.
Judy Bailey, Barry and Jada Crowell. Denny Hoyle. Byron Reed. Kathy McKenzie. Aldana Hill. Dr. Peter Springberg and Peter Silverstein.
Aaron and Sylvia Barnes.
Stacy. April.
We take all of those names that were said out loud and in our hearts, and we'll sing a Misha Berach L'Cholim together in the middle of page 109. Misha Berach Avoteinu Mekor HaBracha Ve'imotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Mikol HaBracha Ve'imotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. I'd like to take this time to call up anyone who has either a birthday or an anniversary or is celebrating a happy occasion in the month of November.
I guess I've got one of those.
So everyone has birthdays,
No.
Anniversary.
and some people have anniversaries, and they don't happen very often. And so this is the portion of the service when we want to really bring that to light and say that this is something that doesn't happen very often, and we're happy that you can come here to celebrate with us at Or Chadash. So we'll give a Shehachianu prayer, a prayer for something that comes anew in the year. So this is the first time in the year that this has happened. So we'll say together, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'eheyanu v'kiyamanu v'higyanu l'azman hazeh. Amen. Well, thank you. We'll continue with the conclusion of our service on page 586 with the Aleinu. We'll rise as we are able. We now continue in the service with the portion when we think about those who are no longer with us physically, but continue to remain with us spiritually and emotionally for our entire lives. I want to share a poem by Yehuda Amichai, an Israeli poet, named A Man in His Life. A man doesn't have time in his life to have time for everything. He doesn't have seasons enough to have a season for every purpose. Ecclesiastes was wrong about that. A man needs to love and to hate at the same moment, to laugh and cry with the same eyes, with the same hands to throw stones and to gather them, to make love in war and war in love, and to hate and forgive and remember and forget, to arrange and confuse, to eat and digest what history takes years and years to do. A man doesn't have time. When he loses, he seeks. When he finds, he forgets. When he forgets, he loves. And when he loves, he begins to forget. And his soul is seasoned. His soul is very professional. Only his body remains forever an amateur. It tries and it misses, it gets muddled, doesn't learn a thing, drunk and blind in its pleasures and its pains. He will die as figs die in autumn, shriveled and full of himself and sweet, the leaves growing dry on the ground, the bare branches pointing to the place where there is a time for everything. With this poem, we also think of those lives who were perished at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, and at the mass shooting at the nightclub in Thousand Oaks. And we also think of those in our community who have experienced loss, whether it's the period of Shiva, Shloshim, or Yortzeit, 7 days, 30 days, or a year. In years past, we think of Bob Kenny, Theodore Mandel, Rose Cohn, Fred Bader, Gertrude Trotwine, Loretta Gladstone, Saul Goodall, Jacob Siegel, Dolores Grabish, Helen Goldberg, and Herbert Luxemburg. If there are any names that have not been read that you are thinking of today, please, as my eyes meet yours, feel free to share their names out loud or in your hearts.
Awesome.
The Norma Web.
On page 598, we'll rise in community and we'll offer the mourner's Kaddish together. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shnei Rabba v'alma tikra chirutei v'yomich malchutei v'hayechon u'v'yomechon v'hayei l'chol beit Yisrael v'agala u'v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevarach le'olam u'lamei almaya. Yitrabach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yithalel v'yithalal shmei t'kudusha u'rechu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushtahata v'nehemata ta'minhan v'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shalom haraba min shmaya Hayim Aleinu ve'al Kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, u'yaseh shalom Aleinu ve'al Kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to all those in the entire world. Amen. Please be seated. We'll end where we began, with strength in song. Page 647. Shabbat Shalom u'menucha. May it be a peaceful and restful Shabbat.
Shabbat Shalom.